Hi yogis, I'm back with another practice along video. This one is for everyone out there who struggles with back bends. Either you're new to yoga, you have a history of back injury or pain, but you still want to be able to practice back bends. So I'm not necessarily teaching a beginner back bend class. I am going to hit some of the more challenging back bend poses in an effort to demonstrate that even though I can't practice them and maybe you can't practice them, we can still practice them by modifying and building strength and flexibility in a way that helps us still move our spine in extension in a healthy way. Those of you that are not familiar with my story, I've been living with chronic back pain for a really long time. I had emergency spine surgery over 3 years ago. I was born with a condition called spinal stenosis. It's a narrowing of the spinal canal, and it's degenerative, so it will get worse as I continue to age. But I've made it a big focus and a passion of mine to learn how to strengthen the core, all the muscles that are designed to stabilize and support our spine. And also I've brought a lot more attention into the glute area and also stretching all of the areas around the spine. So I wanted to present a practice along video for those of you that might kind of not know how to practice back bends and think that you shouldn't practice them just because you can't do them. I can't do any of these poses in the way, in kind of their final idealized form, but it doesn't mean that I don't practice them. And so I'm going to show you the way that I practice them, the way that I warm up and stretch the muscles around the back that actually help me deepen the postures. It's really important when you're practicing back bends, especially if you have back issues, to make sure a couple things, that you're strengthening your back body or your front body, right? If whichever one is weak, generally it's one or the other. So finding balance in your body. The other thing that's really important is that you still move your spine in the different directions, just maybe not as much. So for instance, my back doesn't really fully go into deep extension anymore. And I don't know that it ever is going to, and I don't honestly know that I should put it in that position. With my spinal stenosis, it's probably doing more harm than good. But what I do is still go into extension. I just don't go as deeply, and I'm making sure to use those back core muscles and glutes to help stabilize my spine. So let me tell you what you're going to need for this practice. I've got a lot of props over here. Now, those of you practicing at home that don't have a lot of props, I want to give you suggestions and options because you can use a lot of stuff around your house. You don't need to go out and spend money on props. If you have a foam roller or a wheel or even a sofa couch or the edge of your bed, that's how we're going to kind of warm up our spine. If not, you'll just fast forward right through that part and then carry on. If you have a strap, if you're using a long strap, I want you to go ahead and make a small hole for your foot because we're only going to be using it for your foot. So you'll do something like that. If you don't have a strap, you can use a bathrobe tie, you can use a tie, you can use a belt, anything like that will do, even a long towel. Blocks if you have it. If you don't, you'll make do. A blanket or a cushion to pad your back knee and perhaps support your hip. All right, so go ahead, pause the video, grab anything around the house you can, or position yourself near anything that I mentioned, and let's get started. So the first thing I like to do when practicing back bends is foam roll or use my wheel. And I'm really just rolling around, right? So I'm going to place this at the bottom of my shoulder blades and allow my seat to kind of sink down and really work into my thoracic spine. So I've got my elbows wide, my shoulder blades drawing in, and I'm letting my seat kind of hang down a little bit. And then I'm going to roll on my thoracic spine. This is an area for me that has gotten really tight as it's tried to compensate because of the trauma in my lumbar spine. So just something to think about for those of you with back situations that happens, right? So even if one area of your pain or anything is situated in one area of your back, kind of the rest of the spine might be affected. So, and now I'm just kind of rolling. All right, so next we'll kind of target the low back. Now, if you don't have a foam roller, you could just sit at the edge of your couch where there's an armchair on the couch and just let your thoracic spine, your middle spine, drape off of the couch, and you'll just have your elbows wide, just like this. And so we'll roll over our low back. And we'll get into the glutes a little bit. So I'm going to straighten my right leg. I've got my left leg bent and start rolling on my outer hip. So the glute medius, a little bit into the glutes. We'll switch sides. And then one more here. I like to get into the hip flexors. So we'll place the foam roller where our quads are and roll over the hip flexors. And what's nice about this is now we have kind of entering a little bit into a back bend, like a cobra or an up dog. And again, I'm just rolling the quads, rolling the hip flexors. So that's an area that we want to open and stretch. So if your back is tight and you lengthen and stretch your quads and your hip flexors, then you'll have a better access to your back bends. Okay. Now, if you have a wheel, just grab this. We won't stay here long for those of you that don't, but I can also show what it looks like here. You're really just kind of rolling around on it, right? And I got a bigger size wheel for my back, since the less mobile you are, the bigger wheel you want to get so that the extension isn't as intense. And I'm just kind of rolling here. I like to grab it with my hands to help open the thoracic spine. And I might even take it towards my low back a little bit. In a sense, it's very similar to the foam roller. It's just got a little bit bigger of a shape. And now you can bring your seat down, widen your elbows, bring them together, and this helps to open up your thoracic spine. We'll do like 2 more. Okay, let's set that aside. Take your 2 blocks to the medium setting, place your elbows in the middle of them, bring your knees underneath your hips, and then take your hands behind you here. And breathe. Reposition as needed. And if you need to go higher or lower on the blocks, you can adjust as needed. Now, if you don't have the blocks, I'll show that. Take more of a child's pose, hips back a little bit. Take a couple more breaths here. You'll come off of the blocks if you were using those. Come into tabletop position. Curl your toes under. Let your belly drop. Inhale through cow stretch. Tops of your feet press. Push the floor away. Exhale through cat. And just continue on some cat cows. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Come to a neutral spine. We'll work into puppy stretch. So we're all at different levels, so you'll just go accordingly. Knees underneath hips, walk your hands forward, place your forehead down. If your forehead doesn't reach, you'll place a block underneath there. And so this is really targeting your upper back, your thoracic spine. Allow the sit bones to reach upwards. And if you feel comfortable, you could then try to bring your chin down. Now, I like to grab the side edges of my mat here, and then you can kind of pull So if you feel any compression in your neck, you're going to bring your forehead down. Allowing that upper back to really find extension, so the thoracic spine is the least mobile area of our spine. Going to hold a little longer. Allow your body to adjust as it opens. From here, we'll come on to our bellies and take Sphinx pose. Forearms parallel, tops of the feet press. Pull your chest through like you're almost reaching your elbows back towards your hips and your chest is going through. Now, don't be afraid to use those glutes there. So gently tone them. Take another breath. Take your left forearm and turn it inward. Bend your right leg. Reach around, even if you have to lean over onto the left hip and grab your foot. Now, if you can't grab it, that's where you'll take one of the strap and place it around the sole of your foot. So I'll just show that while you sit up. So it might look something like this. Okay, so you're here or you're without the strap. So this is half frog pose, such a good posture to really stretch the quads and get into the hip flexors here, as well as the shoulders. So you're still in a back bend, right? Our chest is lifting up. You're trying to work your right heel to the outside of your right hip. Breathe. And gently release, and we'll switch. So lean over to the right hip, grab the inside, rotate your fingers down, and then push down through your hands into your foot. Begin to turn your chest more forward. Breathe. So you don't want your belly to be soft as you back bend. You want to use your transverse abdominis, your deepest core muscle, to help stabilize at the lumbar spine. And that will take the compression out of your low spine and then have more of your thoracic spine do a little bit more of the work. Couple more breaths. Okay, release. Let's take a Cobra Pose here. So hands underneath your biceps, draw your shoulder blades in, tops of your feet press, elbows stay bent. So you're really working the upper back core muscles. Engage your glutes here. Breathe. Come on down. We'll take Locust Pose. Palms face upward, draw your shoulder blades in, and then lift your legs, your chest, and your head up. Breathing here, keep pulling your belly button into your spine. See if you can get more lift. And release. Take a quick Crocodile Pose. So that's stacking your forearms. And we'll kind of put all of that together in Bow Pose or Dhanurasana. Now you can use a long strap around both feet if you cannot grab both feet, or you can do one at a time. Let me show one at a time real quick. So if you can't grab both feet in Bow Pose, you can do 1 foot at a time, and you'd place the strap around your right foot, grab the strap, make sure your right shoulder is rolling away from your chest. You can have your left arm out in front of you to help kind of lift your chest, and then you would pull the strap towards your body, but push the strap away with your foot and try to lift up. Breathe. Let's do that on the second side. So we'll do this on the second side. Remember to take the strap so that the shoulder's rolling away from your chest. You can push into the floor to lift your chest up, and then pull the strap in towards your body as you kind of push the top of the foot away. Breathing here. Good. So feel free to explore that on either side or both sides. as we try our full bow pose. So I want you to work into it through Locust Pose. So inhale, lift the chest, the legs, bend both legs, try to grab both feet here, and then push your feet into your hands, hands into your feet. So remember, use your glutes, engage them, and use your transverse abdominis, your core. So pull your belly button up and in. Really push your feet into your hands, hands into your feet, and think of lifting upward. And release. Take Crocodile Pose again, stack the opposite elbow. Breathe, let your spine settle here. You can bend your legs and just windshield wiper them side to side. Release, and come on to hands and knees. We'll sit back on our heels and prep for Camel Pose. Now you could use 2 blocks here alongside your ankles, but I really want us to focus on the upper body here in our Camel Pose. So you think grounding down through your legs and lifting up through the strength of that transverse abdominis, and then we want to open the chest. So in this way, you could think of your Camel Pose as a chest opener. Bring your hands to heart center. Backs of the thumbs press into your sternum. So really lift your sternum up, engage those glutes to help push the pelvis forward, and think of going up and back. So you can keep your chin kind of drawing in if it doesn't feel great to release your head. But I like to press the base of my skull back here and open up. So a slight lean back, maybe your hands find those blocks. Keep pushing your pelvis forward. Use your glutes. Bring your hands back to heart center. Lift up through the chest. Head is the last thing to come up. And then just sit back on your heels for a moment. Ooh. Just let everything kind of settle and neutralize. And we'll do that one more time. So you could also try curling your toes under just to raise the floor again. And this time we'll focus on bringing our hands on our back body and kind of using them to help lift the lumbar spine here and decompress that area. And then think of the chest kind of going up and above it. And then from there, if you want to lean back, you can also stay right here. Lift from the chest, the sternum, and then we'll sit back. Whew. Okay, so feel free to sit up on a block here. We're going to do a shoulder stretch to prep us for our next back bend. So cow face arms, you'll lift your right arm up. I take the elbow, move it to the midline. I'm just going to turn and show you. And roll the opposite shoulder inward to grab your bind. Now, if you have your strap or your prop, you can grab it in between your hands here. You want to work your elbows into the midline and then gently tug the fingers away. So we're doing 2 different kinds of back bends now, one where the arms go behind us like we did in Camel Pose, and we're about to start doing some where the arms go above us. You'll see in just a moment. So that's why we're taking this shoulder stretch now. So the more we stretch kind of around the spine and the shoulders and the quads and the hip flexors, the easier or more accessible back bends will become when we don't rely on the spine so much. Left arm up, bend. We'll take the second side. So you're going to roll your shoulder in to catch your bind. Again, use a strap if needed. Press the back of your head into your arms and just breathe. And we'll release. Okay, grab your strap. We're going to come up to stand. So we're going to work into King Dancer where the arms are above our heads rather than Natrajasana or Dancer where we grab the foot behind us here. This will just really help to open up your thoracic spine and start to open up this area, all the muscles here, the traps, the latissimus dorsi, the serratus anterior, that might be constricting movement in our thoracic spine. So while this back bend is a deeper variation of maybe the dancer you're more commonly familiar with, it's why I like to practice it, because it really gets into these other muscles that we don't target as often. So place the strap around your right foot. And again, make sure that right shoulder is moving away from your ear so the shoulder blades retract. And it's like you're going to kind of sling it around you so that that right shoulder now points up. Now, if you can't grab with the other hand, you could grab the elbow. And you could start trying to see if you could work down the strap to grab with both hands. So now that you have the strap, or if you have the strap, even if it's just one hand, that's all good. You're going to hinge forward at the hips, and you're pulling the strap up and keep your chest up. You'll notice I'm working so hard, my arms are shaking. And hold that as long as you can and come out. So if you're close to a wall, you can also use the wall. Nothing wrong with that. Like, let's take something out of the equation, like balance, so we can really work on the back bend. So you can use it to stabilize with your hand or even at your hip. You can also face the front. You can turn and face the wall. So here we are. We're going to grab and lift, slight tilt forward. Keep pressing your foot away from you, but pulling the strap towards you. So we'll do one more on each side. I'm going to take my left hand against the wall to show you how you can also use the wall here for support. So you could do a kind of like one-armed dancer with the left hand there stabilizing you. We'll switch sides. So I've got the strap on my left foot. I'm going to climb my right hand up the wall and use the wall, lean and gaze up. Okay, keep your strap handy, but let's come back onto our mat. You'll take your cushion or your blanket to pad your back knee. So have your left knee down, right leg forward. And if you need more stabilization in terms of balance, have a block here. Okay, so we're coming into something called King Arthur, which I don't feel like is taught very much, but is so good for back bends. So essentially we're working into a low lunge. So front knee stacks over front ankle, kind of pulsing a little bit, my hips more forward because I want this back leg to get nice and open. Now I can rest my right forearm on my right thigh or have my hand on the block. I want to bend the back leg. Again, you can use your strap if you can't reach the sole of the foot. And this is King Arthur's stretch. So we can push or press our heel close into our hip. We can take, similar to half frog pose, take this rotation here. Keep letting the hips come a little bit more forward. And then sometimes it can feel nice to grab with both hands and get a stretch this way. So I'm pushing my foot into my hands. And you'll release, and we'll switch sides. So this does apply a lot of pressure on your kneecap, which is a good idea. So this does apply a lot of pressure on your kneecap, which is why it's a good idea to pad that back knee. So again, I'm just kind of pulsing my pelvis forward, and use your glute muscle of the back leg. So this is the opposite muscle of what we're stretching in the front. We'll work into our King Arthur, bend your back leg, reach around, grab the top of the foot, bring the heel as close into the hip as you can. If you can get this kind of flipped grip situation happening, you'll work there. Breathe. And then again, we could reach around with both hands and maybe push the foot away from us, really stretch the chest. and release. We're going to come into King Pigeon now and Mermaid. So grab your strap and go ahead and actually prep the sole of your left foot. So just take the strap around there. And we'll start with the right foot forward in a pigeon prep. So heel toe your right foot over to the left. We'll draw the heel in, lower the hips down. So if the hips are high off the ground or you feel like you're wobbling here, use a block or a blanket or a cushion or something underneath your hips. So we want to take the balance portion away, because the back bending is hard enough, right? So we're going to be right here staying upright so we won't fold over. We're going to take this into a back bend. So use your left glute muscles, give them a nice squeeze there, engage them. Take your strap and begin to bend your back leg. And notice I'm kind of like slinging this around. So there's that shift in the shoulder. Now from there, we can lift up. We could stay right here if you need more stabilization. Again, you can have a block right next to you here. And then again, right hand could find the elbow, or if you can reach around and reach the strap, then you'll take that. And I'm kind of climbing my hands up the strap as far as I can go. And now from there, lift up and push your foot into the strap into the foot. So I'm kind of like pushing away from my body with my foot. And I'm going to see if I can walk my hands up a little bit more. Breathe. So really engaging your back core muscles. Belly button pulls in. And release. So we'll come on out and switch the strap in our feet. So I've got it around the sole of my right foot now. And to prep in my legs of pigeon. So back leg is extended behind my back hip, which immediately puts us in a back bend even before we do the upper body here. Take your strap in your right hand. Make sure your right shoulder is moving away from your ear. Bend your back leg, and we're rotating that right elbow up. So again, you could stay right here. This might be enough for you. Really engage your glute muscles. Start to climb or crawl your hand and find the strap. Walk up as much as feels comfortable. Or maybe just, uncomfortable is okay. I'm sure no one's feeling too comfortable here. But so breathe into the discomfort, but we don't want pain or compression. And release. Okay, we'll work with Mermaid, and you can use this strap or not use this strap. So we'll switch sides here. And for my back, it feels a lot more accessible if I take this more as a side bend. There's kind of two different ways you can do your Mermaid pose, more as like a lateral side bend or more working towards your King Pigeon. So you'll bend your back leg, grab the foot, and then you're trying to work your toes into your elbow crease. And a lot of people get stuck right here. Their elbows kind of pointing down, and they're like, how in the world can I do this, right? And so the trick is, think of shifting your elbow down and lifting your fingers up, so they'll get much closer to your face. And then from there, you could just reach your opposite arm forward here, or you could play with bending. So we're kind of back to that cow face shape. And breathe. Now you could have a strap here in your hands or around your left foot even. And as you're ready, release. So you can see that pose is really challenging for me. I'm barely in it, but just doing it helps me open and strengthen my back. So for those of us with injuries or lack of mobility, we have to kind of set our ego aside. Otherwise, we're never kind of practicing what we can't do, right? And then we're never growing or changing. Let's bend our back leg, reach around, grab the top of the foot, and see if we can work that foot into the elbow crease. Remember to turn your fingers up. Maybe you stay right here. Maybe you have a strap. Maybe you try to bend your arms. Ooh. And breathe. Several breaths. Breathe into the discomfort. Try to slow your breath. Send signals to your body that you're safe. And release. Ooh. All right, we'll come and sit in staff pose. So you can move any props away from you. Staff pose is just a neutralizing posture here. Get our spine nice and upright. Use our core muscles here to help stabilize. You can push down through your hands, get a nice long spine. Bend your right leg in. Sweep your right arm behind you, catch the floor. Left arm reaches up and twist. So you can hug your knee or take the back of your left arm to the outside of the right thigh here. Just releasing your low back. And we'll come to center and switch. Left knee pulls in. Take your left arm behind you. Get a nice long spine. Reach your right arm up and turn. Again, you can hug your left knee if that feels better. Keep your right leg straight and active. And inhale to center. And we'll counter with a forward fold here. Allow your hip points to move forward. Sit bones go behind you as you fold. You can have the strap around the sole of your feet if you like. Your fold might be upright here. That's all good. Just get a little bit of a counter after we neutralized. Couple breaths. Inhale up. Move your seat to the center of your mat. We'll lay down on our backs. Just let your knees knock in, feet wide. This is another way to neutralize your spine. Let your eyes settle, closed. I've got my right hand on my belly, left hand on my heart, calming our parasympathetic nervous system. From here, we'll slide on into a brief Shavasana here. Draw your shoulder blades in towards the spine. Let your legs go soft and just give yourself a moment, a minute to recalibrate. Gently wiggle your fingers and toes, bend your knees, hug your knees into your chest. You can massage your low back here or sacrum by rocking side to side. Bring your legs up, bend your knees again. We'll roll to the right side and come on up to our seat. All right, so I hope that you enjoyed this practice. Subscribe, give me a like, let me know in the comments how you liked it, and if there's any other videos, practice along videos or tutorials that I can make for you. Namaste.